Alright, I'm in the top-down view, and we're talking about putting the rotation on the hips as the hips are rotating with the leg as it extends out front. We're going to go ahead and get the rotation on there. And I just want to move that in one axis at a time. Grab that interior. I don't want full body on, I want part body. And I want to be careful about how much I move this. Just want a little bit. Oop. For some reason I've got something not quite happy here. There we go. Alright, just don't want to go quite that much. Should be very subtle movement, just enough to look natural but not overdone. Alright, the amount of rotation, we can see the angle is no longer parallel to the grid line. So keep that in mind as we move the shoulders to counterbalance the movement of our character, the hips rotation that we put on there. So going back the other way, and then of course we want to keep our head nice and straight, looking down, that nose looking down that grid line. Make it nice and stable looking. Alright, when you've got that rotation on the one side, I'm going to scrub forward and go ahead and make sure that that's done for the opposite as well. Keeping an eye as I rotate here. Now that front leg, so I'm rotating toward that front leg and then counterbalancing in the opposite direction. This is quite dramatic, but I want to make sure that you can see that as we work through it. Natural motion is much more subtle. And we're getting some sway in the hips and shoulders. Still look nice, really rigid through the shoulders, that's fine. Get to employing those clavicles here in a little bit. Alright, in this next section we're going to go ahead and start building on that secondary motion. To our walk cycle in Maya, we're going to add our secondary motion now that we've got our timing worked out with our hip curve, up and down motion. We've also dropped in our leg movement, our extreme poses for our legs and arms in a very robotic way, but they're out there to work with. And we've also have some rotation in the spine in two directions so that we get a little bit more natural spine going on. The movement of the balance, counterbalance, and of course straightening out the head. Now we're going to add some secondary motion, which is really critical for getting away from that robotic look. So we're going to go ahead and work on the feet first. Keep in mind that it's an example would be a dog's tail. It's often used to give an example of what secondary animation is intended for. It's your child bones. You've got a parent, a child. These all trail after one another, just like the bones on a dog's tail. So the dog starts wagging his tail is going to follow vertebra by vertebra. So they're going to trail. So what I want to do is that same, take into consider that same movement for the child bones in the limbs. we've got the thigh that's driving pretty much the movement. What's trailing is the calf, and then the foot after the calf. So as I bring up my foot, this foot has come from behind and is coming through this motion. I'm going to go ahead and drop the toe, or foot first and then the toe, so that we can see more of that movement coming through. Now I'm going to take note of how much I'm rotating it. The top of the foot is aligned with the grid, and so as that foot comes through, in anticipation of setting it down on the ground, we're also going to have some breakdowns in here. Let's go ahead and correct the pose for the toes in this position, which trails the foot. So we're going to click on the arrow to get to the foot, and I'm going to drag the toe in a very obvious way so that you can see what's happening there. Foot dragging, or toe dragging after the foot, and then in anticipation that toe is going to raise up. The foot is planted on the ground first, and then the toe is dropped into position on the trailing frame. So now if we walk through that, you see the toe drag, anticipation, down, and there. Now the breakdown of this would be your anticipation could get even more dramatic in that you are raising your foot. Raise that up. We can even get a little heel down action there. Forward, heel down, and toe down, and follow through. See how nice and fluid that appears on the end of that leg now. Much different than that robotic foot on the other side. Alright, so let's go ahead and follow through with adding the secondary motion on the other foot, and then we will begin to talk about the hands. I'll see you in the next video for adding the secondary on the hands.